Yes, welcome back to a very flushed Football Heritage TV. I've been in the sun. I can tell. I feel hot. I feel all a bit icky. But you know what? Transfer news comes first. And there's Lubo. He looks fresh as a daisy on a summer's day. Lubo, how are you, sir?
All good today, you?
Yeah, very well, mate. Very well. It's very, very warm. And we were sitting there saying, when's this first signing going to come? And it's a polarizing one. It is a polarizing one, Lubo. Just so everyone's aware, I have ordered a McDonald's. So in a minute, you are going to see me eating McDonald's while I'm streaming because I'm going out straight after this and I need to fill the belly with some food. But Lubo, Mathys tell all the reports, and we'll look at what the likes of Romano and Plettenberg have said, talking about this deal is about to be done imminently. They're talking about 35 million euros plus the 10 million we've already spent on the loan, plus 5 million in add-ons. So we're looking at just shy of 45 million here for Mathys tell. I won't say what I think yet. I think everyone's going to know what I'm going to say. What's your initial thoughts on the Tell deal?
I've got to say, first of all, cold shock. Ian looking like Levy day by day. You're going to get yourself banned if you carry on like that, matey.
Can't
have comments like that. What do I think? I think it's got... I heard at the time, back in January, that this was a loan with an obligation to buy subject to Tell's agreements.
Sure.
He had to agree that he wanted to come, stay at Spurs after the loan period. This has got Levy's handwriting all over it, putting in money that's owed by Bayern Munich. He's negotiated them down from, I don't know, I'm not sure it was 50 or 60 million euros, where they paid 10 up. So if they paid 35 euros plus the 10, 45, if it was originally 50, then Levy's got 5 million off the deal, which is neither here nor there, to be honest. I don't think Frank's got any say on this one. I think it was all sorted with contracts at the end of January, late Jan. Very underwhelming, I'm afraid. I'm sure he could be a very, very good player in years to come, but he's not what we need. We need established players now. Yeah. And we've got plenty of kids, and we've got plenty of people in that position. I read today that he's bringing Solomon back for pre-season, which I'm delighted with. Be interesting to see how he does. There's no point getting rid of him until we see whether he can cut it or not for Spurs. So you got Solomon, Son, Tell, Moore. There's 4 on the left, just on the left.
We'll go into it because, like I just messaged you, I think we've got about 9 wingers at the football club, and not one of them excites me. Listen, I've been really happy. The last 2 weeks have been very happy. Ange going, Frank coming in, being very, very happy with everything that's been going on. And I can't say this is a surprise because I think deep down we knew this was coming, Lubo.
Yeah.
But again, this does not scream to me that we're serious. This does not scream to me that we are. And I'll be honest, Lubo, I'll say it. I'm already seeing the same old YouTubers putting out the videos going, what a bargain. Oh, Mathys tell, he's got bags of potential. But, Lubo, we just got in the Champions League. Surely it's got to stop being about buying bags of potential, isn't it?
No, but if this could be just a carryover from Ange's reign, couldn't it?
Sure.
So you got to look at it and you got to think, okay, so we've the loan with obligation for Danso has been put to bed. That's been finalised and done. And the other loan from January was Tell, with Højbjerg going the other way, which is happening. So all the old stuff, all the loans with obligations in and out have now been resolved. And now Frank can get on with a clean slate and move on with getting the players that he wants.
But Lubo, when we look at this, and we'll go to Tell specifically in a minute, but when we break this down, it was 25 million pounds for Danso, if I'm not wrong.
I think about 21. I think it finished about 21. It was about 26 million euros, which is a great deal for Danso.
Sure. Hang on. Hear my point first. Hear my point. It's 21 million for him. We're talking about 42 to 45 million pounds for Mathys Tell. So we're now saying that in the summer we've already spent 60 £65 million, and we bought a centre back who isn't a first choice. I like him.
The 10 million, the 8.5 million euros is gone. That's done. Forget that.
I'm not forgetting that. I'm not forgetting that because we paid it. No, I'm not forgetting that. Right? We have spent 60+ million on these two. One of which is a winger who's done absolutely nothing in his career and shown nothing. The other one I like as a squad player, but again, we're sitting there going, right, what are Spurs going to do? Are we going to back managers? And I don't know. It feels to me like if you're going to spend 45 million, 40 million, whatever it works out in pounds for Tell, we're not going to go and buy another left winger, are we? We're not going to go and buy a proper left winger now on top of that.
No, we're not.
60 million.
We're not. But I don't think we ever were. I think we're going to buy one winger, which hopefully will be Mbeumo. If it's not Mbeumo, it'll be Semenya. They're both right-sided. They're both right-sided wingers. You've got Johnson. I think he'll bring Johnson inside. So you've got Odegaard plus one, and Kulu he will play further in as well. Kulu's better as a 10, not as a winger. I don't see Kulu getting a spot on the right wing under Frank. So for me, he'll have one of the new, whoever it is, Mbeumo or Semenya, hopefully on the right, with Odegaard shadowing, in his squad. So you got your two there. I don't understand. For me, you got Donnelly coming back as well. Although Donnelly's a 10, Donnelly can play left side as well. You've got Mikey Moore as well. Maybe he doesn't think Moore's quite ready. I don't know. It sounds like he's. If you believe the reports, Frank's already been through all the videos, looked at all the performances, all the players. If Basuma's going to Fenerbahce on a loan with an obligation, if Son looks like he could be heading out as well, then Frank maybe has already said to Levy, these are the players I want. These are the players I want to get rid of. So for me, it looks like he's that far down the path already. If that's the case, that's the case. It's we're here.
Can we say though, Lubo? It is thoroughly underwhelming right now. It
is underwhelming. I think Tell could be very good in 2 years' time, but we need players now. So we need the first 11 improved straight away, and he won't improve the first 11 from the first match. So for me, it's maybe the right player, but at the wrong time.
I just feel like it's really difficult. So I want to remain upbeat. I want to remain positive about obviously the new structure, the new manager coming in, etc. I'm just the way my brain is looking at this is that money could have gone £45 million, £40 million could have gone towards an Eze.
It's 35 million euros, isn't it?
But either way.
But they've already spent it. In terms of the budget for this summer, the budget for this summer does not include the 10 million or the 8.5 million that they spent in January. That's gone. That's gone. Danzo's money would have had to have been factored in for this summer. That's part of the budget.
I understand that. But again, you let me finish my point, right? You haven't let me finish my point. My problem with this is that whether or not it was factored into last window, this window, that's 40 million pounds that could have gone towards an Eze, an Mbeumo. And if we don't end up getting somebody of the caliber of Eze or Mbeumo, what does this do? Like, what is it that we're trying to do here? I'm really baffled. We've already got young left wingers. Yeah. We've got young right wingers. You've got in this squad right now people who can play out wide, whatever you want to call them, forwards, wingers, whatever. You've got Kulu, you've got Johnson, you've got Odegaard, you've got Kulu, Johnson, Odegaard, Moore, Yang, Solomon, Son, Tell. I'm missing one. I think I'm missing one, but
I think you put Donnelly into that list.
Well, so you've got 8 to 9 wingers. And we go, let's spend all that money on this kid. And again, the same fans that are telling me, good young talent, he's going to come good, will be the same fans that automatically jump on Daniel Levy during the season to say he's not back the manager. I'm saying it from the get-go. I don't particularly want him here. If Frank can do something with him over time, great. But right now, I'm looking at day one. Are we excited that Mathys could be our left winger? Are you excited that he's going to be in the 11?
I'm underwhelmed. For me, and I'm not knocking him as a player because I think in time he will be good, but he's not what we needed now. You know, we need good established players. Yeah, you talk about Mbuemo, you talk about Eze. These are established Premier League players who will come into our 11 and improve the team straight away. Tell won't do that. You saw from the performances last season that, you know, we played 60 games last season. How many actual decent performances did we get? We had some decent results towards the end of the season in the Europa. One or two of those were decent performances, and we had two or three decent performances during the season. Maybe at City, at Brentford, home to Villa, second half against West Ham. You know, you could count them on the fingers of two hands out of 60 games. And so that showed that we are desperate for fresh blood to improve the first team.
Oh, for sure.
So this doesn't do it for me, I'm afraid. But I think it was done and dusted in January, as I say, subject to Tell wanting to join. You know, he may have come and hated it, not enjoy England, etc., etc. So he had the right to actually say, sorry, Bayern, I don't want to go back to Spurs on a permanent. He obviously wants to. I'm sure it hasn't been announced till now because it was his choice, and they've given him the chance to look at Thomas Frank as a manager, and he obviously likes what he sees, and he wants to join. So there you have it.
I don't want to have any sort of meltdown. I'm not going to, because I thought this day was going to come. I'm just thoroughly underwhelmed. I'm not going to sit here and slag it off. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh my God, Levy this and the recruitment team that." I just feel for that money. Look how many good young players. Look how many good players there are around Europe that are going for these fees. Like I just don't get it. And if he starts on the left for Spurs now, what I think this is going to mean, I do think this means that Sonny is going. I do think this means Sonny is going. And literally, I think we'll probably get the same money for Son that we've actually got Tell for. So you could probably say that cancels itself out, if you like.
Yeah.
What we've got to see now, Lubo, because the first two signings are the loan signings we thought were coming in. Both, for me, are not first-team players. I think Danso is if you play a back three. I think he is. Other than that, we know it's Van der Ven and Romero if they both stay. So for me, we brought two players in that aren't first-team players. The next two or three signings, Lubo, they've got to show some intent here. They've really... Sorry, I've been really rude. Let me put myself on that side. We've really, really got to show some intent, because there's only X amount of wingers you can have, right? We can't keep buying wingers, but what they've got to do, they have got to now go and buy a top forward and a top winger on the right, because otherwise you're now the same front three as last season. That's my worry, is you've signed Tell, who was already in the team. Solanke, unless they get another striker, is your main striker. Now you're going to have Odebear or Johnson on the right. We've got to get an Mbuemo, a Semenyo. He's got to, Lubo, right?
Sure.
Like, no excuses.
I think he will. I think he will. Otherwise, he's going to inherit a team that's struggling. You know, Basuma's already going, looks like, doesn't it? So he must have somebody in mind to replace him with. So we're short of established players already. Basuma, you would call an established Premier League player. So that's one less. Sonny's established as well if he goes. We're going to be sadly lacking with this established players unless they sort it out. I believe they will. Levy will know that he doesn't have the European League to fall back on this year, and it would be catastrophic for Spurs to go down financially. Absolutely catastrophic. So,
do you know how you know it's not a great signing? Because there are so many people unhappy. Yeah. Like my phone, I'll be honest, Lubo. I was chilling in the garden. I dozed off a little bit. I allowed myself to doze off for half an hour after building some furniture. And I woke up, and you know when you wake up and you see like it's like you have nine or 10 new messages from different people, and I'm like, oh, something's happened. And it was why. I saw the first one that said why, and the next one was like typical Levy. The next one was like Spursy. And when I actually opened them all up, I was like, now it makes sense. So many people are underwhelmed. So many people underwhelmed with this. So many.
I think that's because he was underwhelming when he played.
Yeah.
You saw flashes. You could see flashes. I mean, in the last game against Brighton, he went past 2 or 3 players down the left, pulled it back for Ben. Was it Johnson missed the sitter, didn't he?
Yeah.
Against Brighton, Johnson came in nicely, and the shooting boots deserted him. So you saw from that what Tell can do, and I saw the highlights from him in the under-21s when he was absolutely brilliant. So the kid's got something. He just didn't show it for the first. Having said that, and I will go against what I've been saying, but I did say on the show the other night, how can you judge anybody in Ange's system?
True, but when we're saying judging them, though, I mean, I can acknowledge when a player's good but doesn't play well under a manager. My worry, though, is I'm looking at the basics. When I look at a football, Lubo, I look at the basics. I don't look at, people go, oh, but Son, he's being played wrong. I'm talking about touch, control, right?
Movements, yeah.
Moving the ball into space, how you cross, how you shoot. All of that is nothing to do with which manager you're playing for, right? That's who you are as a footballer. And for me, listen, I'll sit here right now in Lubo and say, if next season, Mathys Tell starts on that left-hand side, gets 20-odd goal contributions, I'll turn around and go, brilliant. Yeah, I didn't see it in him. Someone else did, brilliant, and Frank's done a great job with him. But what I don't want is all the people that are praising him, is if it's then poor and we're all going, oh, well, what do we expect? We can't score goals because we didn't buy players. Just remember that loads of people praise Solanke and Odegaard and Johnson and Tell. That at the moment, if I'm not wrong, Lubo, that's our front four. They're our main 4 forwards at the moment. Solanke, Tell, Odegaard and Johnson.
And Son at the moment. And
Son at the moment. I can't see that he stays. If he stays and we've then got Son with Tell as the backup again, then we're really not moving forward. But that isn't a set of Champions League forwards, is it? That isn't a set of forwards where you go into the league stage.
It's a poor forward line. There's no cohesion. I think Solanke will be very happy to get an Mbeumo or a Semenya, because that will get a lot more out of Solanke than Ange did this season. You saw Solanke dropping deep a lot of the time, wasn't in the box at the right time a lot of the time. Having said that, he got 22 goals and assists this season, so it wasn't. You can't turn around and say he flopped. He didn't.
Sure.
But they didn't use him. 22 GAs is not bad, but for me, it should have been a lot more if he'd have been used in the right way. Frank will get the best out of him. Ange couldn't get the best out of anybody, to be fair.
And that is the plus side with most of these players for me. This is why you see I'm pretty, like, normally I'd be jumping on here going, Tell. I'm calmer about it. Listen, what I can't do, Lubo, you know me, I'm true to myself. I can't lie. I know there's a lot of YouTubers I know that just say, big up Leo, by the way. Big up, man. Sorry, I meant to say hello. How you doing, bro? Out there in Denver. There are a lot of people that will just fake positivity. I can't do that, Lubo. What I will say is but I've got to say this, and I know you agree with me. They have to go and buy 2 other forwards. They've got to. We cannot start this. We can't start with Tell, Solanke, Johnson. That front 3 will be gobbled up in the Champions League. We've got to go and we need an Mbeumo. We need an Eze. We need somebody of real stardust, right? We need that sprinkling of stardust in that front 3. Because at the moment, I'm looking at it, and when people are going to me, oh, well, Frank's got to get us top 5. Well, at the moment, I'm not looking at the squad and saying, yeah, top 5. I'm not, because the forwards aren't good enough. So,
no, but then I think, listen, the only transfer business we've done so far is just finalising what we started in January.
Sure.
Which is
why I'm not angry.
Sure.
Which is why I'm not angry.
and the window starts. The window in pretty much starts for us. What, on the 16th is it when it reopens, or 17th?
Yeah,
which is Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
So let's wait and see what happens. You know, I'm not panicking. All they've done, they've closed off Højbjerg, Danso, and Tell. Those had to be sorted. They've announced which player. Werner's gone back as well. They've announced, I think, that they're releasing Forster, they're releasing Whiteman. There are quite a few others that are mainly kids that they're releasing. It hasn't started yet. They're just closing down the old regime's deals, and we start again. I think we start from Monday.
No, so, I agree with you, but the old cynics will say and are saying that all of the Buemo kind of conversation in the last 48 hours is typical PR from Spurs, you know, put out there that we're going for a big player, blah, blah, blah. Then it softens the blow with, we've got Tell. But listen, for me, normally with a signing, I'm like, right, Spurs are signing players. Let's go. Let's move. I'm kind of sweeping this one under the carpet, if I'm honest. This for me is okay, right? Now, what are we doing? And by the way, lots of people saying, where is Frank? I believe that Thomas Frank is on holiday, from what I've heard. And by the way, people saying that's not right. I think everybody's entitled to a holiday, right? Sure. I mean, everyone's allowed a holiday, especially when everything that they need to speak to him about can be done via the phone and the players aren't in training. So I have seen a lot of people getting on his back about being on holiday, Lubo, which I think is just a little bit silly, isn't it?
Well, the guy's been working since the beginning of last July. He'll pick up again beginning of July or sooner at the club, but beginning of July when the team come back for pre-season training. So, you know, the guy's entitled to a holiday. I'm sure everybody who's watching on here who works gets holiday time, you know, and holiday pay. I mean, the guy's entitled to it. So, you know, let's leave him alone. Yeah. I'm sure he would have told Levy, Paratici, whoever is involved there now, these are the players I want. Go and get them. And at the end of the day, it's up to the director of football, Lange, whoever it is now that's going to be organising the negotiations. It's now up to them to go and get the players that Frank wants.
Mm. Well, look, let's come at this from another angle. Just quickly before we do, no real concrete news, kudos. Lubo and I will talk about that in a minute. By the way, guys, we are going until latest of 5:30 today because Lubo and I both have plans. I know people think that YouTubers don't ever leave their house, but believe it or not, it's my wife's 40th this weekend. So she is 40 tomorrow. So we're out tonight and family over tomorrow. But I will have a show for you in the morning. And we will have the Spurs review tomorrow night, of which Lubo is going to be part of it. And hang
on. You can tell the audience she got a subscription and 5 free super chats, didn't she, for a 40th plus dinner?
If she got a free Football Heritage TV membership, yes, she did.
Absolutely, and so she should.
Big up to Ryan who said, "Big up Savva. I don't want Tell, but if Frank wants him, then I will take it. But I don't accept it. Could do so much better." I think it's what Lubo said. I probably don't think that they probably said to Frank, just so you know, these things are already happening. And Frank's probably gone, that's fine, I'll coach him, but I need X, Y, Z on top. That's where I'm going to get to in a minute, by the way, after my initial mehness. By the way, that's not a word, but it should be mehness. Big up to you, Ryan. Ethan Bates has said, if Tell had joined United instead of us in January and produced the same as he did for us, nobody would have been disappointed we missed out. Ethan, I don't doubt it. Do you know what this is, Ethan? For me, Mathys Tell, there are millions of Mathys Tell across Europe. And normally they're bought for 10 to 15 million euros, right? Brighton buy Mathys Tells all the time. Coach them, loan them out. 2 years later, we go, oh, where have they been hiding this player? Right? Spurs, we've done, I'm going to upset Lubo, but we've done this now with Gray and Tell, where we're spending 40 million, 35 million, whatever it is, on these young players. So the pressure on them to develop and grow quicker is absolutely crazy. But Ethan, I completely agree with you, mate. If this had been a 10 million signing, I've got no problem. I've also got no problem with it if Spurs go and buy Eze's and Buemos and Paulinho's. I've got no problem with it. If this is the main forward signing, I've got problems with it, but I don't think it will be. Big up to you. Big up to Jordan, who said, for what we spent on Odegaard and Tell, we could have got Eze. Yes. Yes. I mean, what we're looking at, 40 odd million for Tell. Odegaard was what, 25, 26?
25, yeah. 25.
So we're looking at 65 million pounds. That gets you an Mbeumo or an Eze, but this is what we do. He said this is where wages come into it, because Odegaard and Tell combined won't have the wages between them of what Eze would be on. Well, look, first and foremost, I get ya, but we can afford Eze's wages. We can afford. Eze's on 100 grand a week. I think you could get Eze out and get him at 170, 160 wages. I truly believe that. But I do take your point. We've got two players for the same price, but their wages probably don't even. I mean, Odegaard's what, on 85 grand a week, I believe, Odegaard. And sorry, Tell. And Odegaard, I don't know, 40, 50. I don't know what he's on. Big up to you, though, Jordan. Thank you very much. And then Pavan has come in. Thank you, very generous Pavan. Said Levy should go. The last 6 years, this club is regressing massively. And the Sharks, Newcastle, Aston Villa are looming. Well, look.
No argument from me.
You'll get no argument for Lubo on that. What I want to say is, I'm hearing a lot of reports, and I know right now I'm going to get a lot of laughter. Thank you for the super chats, and we're back on from this, Pavan. I'm hearing a lot of reports from people that I'm speaking to that they're going to go big this summer, Lubo. Now, Lubo, you and I aren't teenagers. I hate to break it to you. We have got some years between us, all right? And we have probably heard this a million times, but there are a lot of talks that Spurs are going to go big. Now, if we're going to go big, right? If we're going to go big, the fans are demanding, aren't they? The Ezes, the Mbeuemos. What do you make of these links? Because Mbeumo, literally 7 or 8 hours after Frank is announced, Mbeumo's name is being bandied around. Sky Sports have run with it. The likes of Plettenberg and Romano, though, the guys that normally, they haven't said this. There's been a lot of other people that have. Where are you at with the Mbeumo thing? Is this all a little bit too late because of the Man United talks, or do you think there is a deal that can be done there?
Well, I've read 2 reports today. One saying that Mbeumo wants to stay in London, which is a positive. Yeah. And the other one, which is negative, says that he's already given his word to United, he'll be joining them. So at the end of the day, let's see where he ends up. You know, there's always a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about Eze last year. You know, Eze was coming, Spurs were in for Eze. Ange was never interested in Eze. It was all nonsense. So you can't believe everything you read. So at the end of the day, when the guy sat next to Frank, and Frank's got his arm around him, and the players signing the contract like they used to with Poch, then it's about believing, because then it's done. But not with this club. It ain't done till it's done.
Yeah, I mean, you get it though, right? You get why, you know, when we hear the news of Mbeumo, for example. Now, by the way, I think Mbeumo is a very good footballer, right? Who's better than what we've got. But look, I don't want to make out like that this is like when we signed Ginola, or this is like when we signed Klinsmann, or do you know what I mean? Like he's a very good player. These are the deals that I think we should be doing, right, Lubo? We should be able to go to Brentford and take on Mbeumo. And it doesn't look like the price will be a problem. From what there are reports saying that we've offered 65, 70. It's going to be, does he want to join? Does he want to go to Man U, one of the biggest clubs in the world? Or does he want to join Tottenham with Frank, who has mentored him, and staying in London where he lives? So it's a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, well, 3187's just put, and Mbeumo rejected United too. Where did you get? Just come back to us Thursday. Where did you hear that information from? Because I've not heard that. I've also heard that he's a Man United fan from, you know, as a kid. So you don't know. You hear so many things. I heard Eze was a Spurs fan. Somebody on the comments the other day said no, he's not. He's Arsenal. So you never know. You never know. Not that it makes any difference. You know, Ryan Giggs was a City fan. Robbie Fowler was an Everton fan. Jamie Carragher was an Everton fan. So it doesn't matter who you support. It's the end of the day for these boys. It's a job. It's their profession. So, but we'll see. Let's just see.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at Elijah getting all brave in the chat saying we don't have plans and we're both old. Wow. Easy. Listen, it catches up with you quickly, Elijah. It catches up with you quickly. I feel like I was just saying to my mother-in-law, I was telling her I worked in Greece. I worked in Malia 20 odd years ago. 20 odd years ago. God, must be 21, 22 years ago. So it feels like the other year. It just feels like it's gone.
It
Boom.
does.
So it's going to catch up with you, bro. It's going to catch up with you. Don't you worry. Age hits us all. Look, I would love to be wrong with what I'm about to say, and I'm not being negative. I just feel like has the Mbeumo deal come all a little bit too late? You know, we know that he's been in talks with Man United. We know that personal terms won't be a problem. We know that he likes Man United. We know none of that is, but we know that it was the price that Man United were offering. So are we now in a position to go, we're going to nick in, we're going to be the ones that hijack a deal?
Well, United have offered, is it 45 plus 15, I think it is, something like that, or 50 plus
Something
10.
like that.
And we've offered, allegedly, we've offered 60 plus 10. So let's see what happens. I also read today Gyökeres has turned down United. Again, it's in the papers. You don't know what to believe. That's the thing.
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't it be nice for us to hijack a deal? We're normally the ones being hijacked. Wouldn't it be nice for us to just nip in there and go, Spurs announce, Mathys tell?
It'd be nice. It'd be nice for Frank. Sav?
Yeah, sorry, my food's
It'd be nice for Frank to hijack a deal. You lost the dog?
One second. Sorry. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
She's not happy with 5 super chats. She wants 10.
No. Sorry, my McDonald's arrived. She
Okay.
wanted 10 super chats. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. The hijacking of deals. It's normally us, right?
Well, no, it's not. We normally hijack Frank, don't we? Which we did for Johnson and Gray. So
no, but I'm talking about proper players. I'm talking about. I'm talking about when we were hijacked for what was his name? William. Who's the other one? That went to Liverpool.
William was at Spurs. William was at Spurs because there was I think it was a European match on, and his agent got a call from Chelsea, and he told William not to do anything, not to sign anything, and just sit tight and wait for him. And he called him. He went down to Chelsea, gave him a call, and William left the grounds. So that was the situation there. Did you mention Mane just now? Sadio Mane. Well, he was in Poch's office, and he wanted higher wages than Spurs were paying Kane. So, and Levy wouldn't raise the bar. So, for that reason, Mane left and ended up in Liverpool. And the same with Wijnaldum. And then we could have had Zaha, but the offer was too low. All in the same, literally all within a month. And we ended up with Sissoko on the last day of the season. Last day of the transfer window, should I say.
That's Spursy, if you ever will, that we ended up
with
Sissoko.
Had Levy raised the wage cap and brought Mane in, then we lost the league that year by 7 points to Chelsea. I'm sure Mane would have been worth at least 7 points, maybe 8. At least 8, should I say? So,
Sure.
It's unfortunately it's called Levy-nomics, and we've had it for 24 and a half years, and this is where we are. So, and we're talking about money and budget and so on and so forth.
Oh.
The money for Tell is coming out of the Kane money.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't spend that money till he got it anyway, and that was probably broken down over 2 or 3 years. So let's sort of take that out. At the moment, you've saved 8.5 million in wages with Werner, who's your main wages saver. So you got that money to put towards a player. You've got 20 million coming in for Højbjerg. So there is money coming in. I'm sure that money's probably been spoken for with Danso. So at the moment, we're probably, if you look at it that way, we've probably got a clean sheet at the moment, clean slate, and we're going from here. So whatever the budget is now,
so whatever the budget is now is the true budget. The money that's already been spent on Danso and Tell was offset by what we owe Bayern and what we'd already paid out in set aside in January.
And Højbjerg's maybe Højbjerg's money as well coming in, because he can't use that money until the money's paid. So I'm sure they probably put that into this transfer window, and that's covered Danso pretty much.
Yeah. By the way, just quickly, Diaz was another one, right? Luis Diaz was coming to Spurs, wasn't he? Wasn't he hijacked by Liverpool?
He wanted to go to Liverpool in the summer. Klopp was going to go for him in the summer, but when he heard that Spurs were in January, the agent notified Klopp. Klopp spoke to Fenway, and Fenway gave him permission to spend the money in Jan. So unfortunately, that was one of those where we're always number 2 to Liverpool. We tried to nick in. We've been speaking to him for months. They should have found out well before then that he was only interested in Liverpool. Spurs wasted a lot of time on talking with Diaz's intermediaries.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's face it, right? We can all be unhappy as much as we want, but we knew this was coming. It's not a shock, is it? It wasn't like out of the blue, I've suddenly messaged you and gone, oh my God, we've signed Mathys Tell. We kind of knew this was coming. I'm going to ask you this. How, of course you are, Reezy. Of course you are. Just quickly before we move on, big up to my man, Manny, the designated Hotspur. Love Manny, really nice guy. So big up, Lubo and Savva. Great start to our assault at challenging on multiple fronts as per our board. Well, look, Manny, it's just what I was coming on to. Say, moving forward now, mate, we've got to go bigger. We've got to go bigger. How soon do you expect this to start? Do you expect that they've been talking to Frank in the background about targets? Do you think that they'll know who he wants? Or do you think these are conversations that need to happen when he comes back? And big up, Manny. Thank you very much.
Well, if he said yes to Basuma leaving, then he's not just looked at Basuma when he's looking at the players from last season to assess his squad. He's been looking at everybody. Yeah. So Frank will have an idea, I'm sure. If he said yes to Basuma leaving, then and he wants Mbeumo, then he's got players in his mind that he wants in, and players that he doesn't want that he's told Levy, these guys won't be part of my plans at the moment. Mm-hmm. So we've got an interesting 2.5 months coming up.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been fairly optimistic the last few weeks, as you know. I truly believe we're going to have a good window. However, it doesn't help my cause when we get this news, and now I've got everyone messaging me going, you're wrong about this, you're going to be wrong about that. I almost need Levy to have a good summer so that I'm not in the mud in some way. But in a way, I kind of know I'm going to be in the mud at the end of the window. Is that me just being pessimistic, or is this just what we're used to as Spurs fans?
Listen, you think you got it bad. I've had a lifetime of following this team of underachievement for most of the time. So for me, I'm very, very cynical. When I hear Spurs have offered 70 million for Mbeumo, it's like, okay, at least this one, unlike the Gahey one in January, was at the beginning of the window and not at the end of the window. Because the Gahey one was a joke. That was just PR, just to keep the fans off his back. At the end of the day, you want to take Palace's captain, I think it is, England international, for 70 million 3 days before the end of the window and give them 3 days to replace him. I mean, come on.
Yeah. That was PR at its finest, wasn't it? That was absolute PR at its finest.
Look what they did with, was it Rivellino? Was it Rivellino all those years ago? Who was the
Rivellino?
Rivaldo? Was it Rivaldo? Sorry, it was Rivaldo, wasn't it? Rivellino was last century. It was Rivaldo. Spurs were talking about. Do you remember in 2002? There was never a chance. Never a chance he was going to come to Spurs. So Enoch had been doing this literally from 18 months into their.
Morientes was another one. Remember?
Yeah.
Morientes.
No. Yeah.
What a laugh. Right.
That's why we desperately need a buyout. Desperately. Get people in who want success for this club.
Yeah, Chris, yeah, permanently in the mud, yeah, in YouTube. By the way, they're interviewing Ait Nouri in Miami at the moment. He's there with Man City, obviously. And one of the things that frustrates me is when we're talking about the £45 million for Tell, give or take, you think Man City got Cherky, Ait Nouri, and Reinders for all less than we've paid for Tell. All three of them are less money than we paid for Tell. That tells you, like, there's no excuses. Like, there's no, if Man City old money bags can go out there and go, oh, Ait Nouri, what is he, 32 million, 34 million? I think they paid for Ait Nouri.
Sav, he's a brilliant businessman. That's what we're told. He's a brilliant businessman.
Well,
he
is. He is. Hang on. He is. If we develop Tell and then in 3-4 years he's sold for more than what we paid for him, then yes. But in the short term, absolutely not. Because look at those three players they brought in. Ait Nouri, right? Reinders, Ait Nouri, Reinders, and Cherky all come in, all ready-made, senior pros, hundreds of appearances under their belts, all internationals. And we've gone for an under-21 that costs more than all of them and has shown less than all of them. It's just...
But you talk about if he develops, what if Spurs missed the Champions League by a few points that a better striker would have got us over the line? That decision has cost us 70 million. Never mind waiting for 3 years' time. If we spent 40 million on him and we've lost 70 million, we're not going to get 110 million for Tell to make up for the loss in Champions League revenue. So, it's just false economics, isn't it?
I completely agree with you. I'm just talking about from the actual price of a player. Yeah. Listen, I don't think it's good business. No, it is if you sell him for 80, 90 million in a few years' time, it's great. But you're right. If we miss out on Champions League football, let's say, because we've scored 15 goals less than, let's say, hypothetical, Spurs and Villa fighting it out for that 5th place. And Villa get it on goal difference because they've scored more goals, right? We'll be looking and going, well, that's what, yeah, you're right. That's what the money would have done for an Eze, for an Imprema. Now, I'm not saying we still can't get them, but you're absolutely right. But do you agree with me? If we were making this signing and it was 10 million, 15 million, maybe even 20 million as a total, you'd go, all right, young player, let him learn. But when we're starting to pay in the £40 million mark for these footballers, there's so much better out there.
I know. I mean, Leo's right in the comments. Tell was playing for a Spurs team in free fall, which is 100% correct.
Sure.
The form after City. I mean, City was the 12th game in the last 26, which I think we won 5 out of 26. And Tell joined in January, and I think we after the 3 games that we won in Feb. After that, we won once against Southampton, 2 draws and 9 defeats in the last 12. So Tell was playing in a team that won 4 out of 15 from after joining. So, I suppose in fairness to him, you got to look at how he plays in a well-coached, well-drilled team that we will have, with hopefully better players that are coming in to strengthen the team, and then all of a sudden, then it could be very different.
I don't doubt what Leo's saying there. Sorry, I've not come to that comment yet. I don't doubt that, but people have got to realise that we have seen this player play not just for Tottenham. Some of us do watch other leagues. Yeah. And I've watched him for the last few years at Bayern and never really been impressed, Lubo. So when people are going, you've got to...
He's 19, he's not 23, 24. So it's unfair to say, well, you watch him over the last 2 or 3 years. By the way, Rob Welsh, this leaving stuff is what you're meant to do on the Ask Us Anything show. Rob, your 50 quid is better off in a charity.
Lubo, hang on, but that's not the point I'm making. The point is when we're saying, oh, but, you know, he's playing in a really bad system. All right, but the really bad system that he was playing under is the manager that most of these people wanted, by the way, right? Second of all, when he gets the ball on that left wing, the system that he's in doesn't stop him from being a talented footballer or not, right? It simply doesn't. And what I've seen of him at Bayern, I've not seen anything that makes me go, that's 45 million pounds. That's only me, but that's why I think there's a lot of other fans in the chat. Let us know in the chat who watched him before he came to Spurs, because I watched him and it was always a bit like, I always felt, Lubo, that he threatened to be good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like him and Odegaard are the same. I watch them and I think, I almost feel like you could be good, but you're not. So I also think that Bayern Munich, why are they letting this guy go? If he's so good with such potential, why are they letting him go and constantly buying wide players?
Well, when you've got Elise on one side, I'm trying to think who's on there, and they play Musiala left, don't they?
Well, you've got Gnabry, Musiala, Elise. You've got a number of players there. Sane, up until this year, was there as well.
So Tell's not going to get into Bayern Munich anyway. So they're cashing in. They're getting money off the Kane deal. So for Bayern, it's a good deal. They're happy with it.
I agree. All right, I agree, but people have got to remember. This is brilliant. I've just finished eating, and she comes in and goes, sorry, I forgot your barbecue sauce. Hang on. Let me just open one and down it. A nice shot of barbecue sauce to start the evening. Yeah, look, I agree with you. For them, Lupo, this is, for lack of a better term, this is Harry Kane money. For lack of a better term, I know it doesn't, you know, we know it doesn't work like that. But this is the money that Bayern Munich were going to have to pay us over, I don't know the deal, could have been over 3-4 years, whatever it was. This is the money that Bayern Munich were going to have to pay us. So in that essence, I get that it's not the end of the world. It just means that we now have to remove that money from the P&L for the next 3 or 4 years, that money will not be coming in. That's fine. But it still is 45 million pounds of Tottenham's revenue. That is essentially, whichever way you look at it, that is still money that we would have had at some point that has gone on Mathys Tel. So I think he's under pressure.
Sav, you could turn around and say then that it was 40 million plus Tel for Kane.
Right.
There you go. Kane for 40 million plus. So that's right. It's exactly what I just said. So there you go. It doesn't sound such a good deal now, does it?
Right. That's my point, Luba. That's my point. All these people,
at the moment,
all these people saying, oh, I like Tel. So if I said to you 2 years ago, right, we're selling Harry Kane. Oh, go on. How much for? 40 million plus this kid. Everyone would have lost their mind. Everyone would have lost their mind. So there is that way of looking at it. Look, I'm not angry about it. I'm not upset, but it just doesn't really do anything for me. However, I've got to practice what I preach, Lubo. And why have I said I always wanted Frank? Because I want to coach. I want to coach. So I've got no doubt. Sean in the chat, by the way, Sean, I'm going for 7 more minutes, mate. I've got the missus big birthday tonight, so I'm going for 7 more minutes. But I'm live. Feel free to join the Spurs review tomorrow night, or join me in the morning, mate. So yeah, it's optics of how the deal is looked at, right? Right now, we're going, oh, it doesn't look great. In 2 years' time, we could have a brilliant player on our hands, and we go, well, all of you people that didn't want him were in the mud. My question to you, Lubo. How much can we expect from him now, though? We can talk about 2 years ago. We can talk about 2 years in the future. But right now, what can we and you expect from him in this coming season?
From Tel.
From Tel. What can we expect? What's a good year for Mathys Tel?
If he's going to be first choice left winger, then you would expect him to be playing at least 40, 50 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be expecting sort of 25 GA goals and assists. I would expect. By the way, Carlos, you obviously missed the start of the show because I did say that Tell might be good in a couple of years, but what we need now are established players to improve the team. Pretty much, is he good enough? Is he good enough to start? I don't think so. I just don't see it. Mikey Moore's not ready either. We'll be short of somebody on the left, which is why I do think at the moment a 3-5-2 is far better, and you use Udogie as your wing back, overlapping, and maybe you have Solanke and Johnson, or Solanke and Mbeumo if he joins, or Solanke and Semenya as your two in the middle, and you've got Porro and Udogie as your wide wing backs, because we are at the moment we're very short of decent wingers. So,
by the way, Lou, but I'm not saying, but I need to be really clear on this. My issue with Tell isn't that I don't think he can become a good player in 2 years. That isn't my issue. My issue, as always, is the same as when we were in last summer. It was, what about now? What's now? Now. What I don't want is people that are bigging him up and telling me he's great. If he doesn't do great, or if Spurs do struggle, what they do then, Lubo, is they go straight towards, but Levy didn't back him. And you're like, well, hang on. Half of you like him. So I did a poll. How do you feel about the signing of Tell? And there were 4 options, Lubo. Great signing, underwhelming, typical Spurs, or has a lot of potential. Great signing was 13%. There's 700 votes exactly. 30% said underwhelming. 32% said typical Spurs, and 26% said has a lot of potential. So if we had the great signing with the has a lot of potential, you've got 40% of that 700 people, right? Sure. 40% are very, very happy. 60% are like, meh. And you get it, right, Lubo? You get it. This does feel like this is what Spurs do. And I hope I'm wrong. And I hope they shut me up next week and buy Mbeumo, buy Eze. But as a standalone signing, it doesn't move the needle at all. He's been absolutely awful since he joined us. I watched him last year for Bayern Munich. He did nothing there either. So this is a big, big gamble, Lubo, for me. This is a huge gamble.
Well, I think you're better off looking at it that it's the end of the deals that were sorted out before Ange left.
Sure. And
they're just tying up the loose ends. And from now, Frank's transfer budget starts literally from now. And the players that are coming in will now be Frank signings. Listen, Danso wasn't a Frank signing. He was on loan, tied up, and the same with Tell. So for me, it's from what we do now. If Tell comes good, then he comes good. And if he doesn't, they'll sell him. So
I mean, sorry, Sean. I'm going to just say, when you're saying harsh, I mean, in reality, it's another hit and hope, Sean. It is another hit and hope. It's not like he's come on loan and we've gone, oh my gosh, we have to sign that player. He's been amazing. As I said, I watch a lot of German football. When I watched him at Bayern Munich, it was always, okay. But again, Sean, you were talking about you want monster number 6s and we want top players. If we want that, we've got to make that happen. It can't just be Tell. So I'm comfortable with it, Lubo, as long as we go and buy a couple of top forwards to go with it. I can't have my front three. I can't have my front three as Johnson, Solanke, and Tell. That's such a very poor Champions League front three for me.
It's a poor Premier League front three.
I agree. I
prefer to look at us as a Premier League team because we're going into the Champions League from 17th position. So, we're probably, we'll be the lowest team in any league that's qualified for the Champions League next season. So for me, it's about getting players that are, first of all, good enough for the Premier League. And then you've got to look at them as being good enough for the Champions League. You can't run before you can walk. Listen, it's not a big surprise. I was expecting Tell to be signed. Is it a punt? Yes, it's a punt. He's only 19. And I think, just to paraphrase a comment that came up a few minutes ago, how were Kane and Bale at 19? So, you look at it that way, and
but that isn't people's problem, Lubo. My problem with it isn't that he's 19. Sorry. My problem with it isn't that, oh my God, I think he's the worst footballer I've ever seen. My problem with it is, when are we going to sign established footballers? That is my problem with it. If you want to charge ticket prices that we do, if you want to get into the Champions League, if you want to get better, then I don't want Tells. But if he's coming in and he is going to be our second player that's learning from a top winger, cool, do it. I don't care. But what I don't want is everyone going, oh, there's no transfer funds left to buy that better player because it went on Tell. Mm-hmm. So if they do the big signings to go alongside it, fine. Coach him, whatever. If they don't, and he's been bought as our main left winger, it's just underwhelming, and I don't care what anyone says.
Well, that's why when you said to me, what do you expect from Tell? If he's our main left winger, if he's going to get that spot week in, week out.
Was the best player for the last 3 months. Oh, Sean. Based on what? I thought he was one of the worst. I thought he was absolutely atrocious. Lubo, one of the best for the last 3 months.
Sorry, Sean, can't agree with you. Did he put the effort in? No shortage of effort.
Of course.
But do you know what? Nobody ran as much as Solanke. If we're talking about effort, did Tell excel? No, he didn't. Did he show enough to be bought for 40 million? For me, no, he didn't. Could he be good in a few years' time? Yeah, definitely, because you saw flashes there that showed that he's got something about him. At the end of the day, he wouldn't be at Bayern Munich if he was a mug. But that we needed that money for other players. That's the point. But just going back to what you were saying, because I saw my friend Carlos in the comments, what am I smoking? 25 GAs. If Tell is that's what I would expect, Carlos, from somebody who is playing 50, 60 games a season. Call it 50, right? If he's playing for 45, 50 games, I would expect 25 GA from my left winger. Because, he's a sort of crossover from, he's not just a pure winger. He's a winger stroke inside forward. So that's what I would expect from him if Frank gives him the nod to be the number one going into next season. Because if he doesn't come up with those sort of figures, again, like the wingers this season, the wingers didn't create that much, did they? You look at the number of assists from.
But this is my problem with Tell. My problem with Tell is we keep saying he came into a poor team. But my problem is, as a wide man, when you get the ball, I can see if you're a good player or not, no matter what system you're in. You can see from the touch, the control, the skill, the crossing, the shooting. And nothing about him did I go, oh, you're good at that. The stats back up. By the way, the stats, I don't always use stats, but the stats back up what my eyes told me. That he couldn't beat a man. His beating a man was absolutely atrocious. His crossing was terrible. His goal output was terrible. He got 1 assist in 20 games. So listen, all I'm going to say is this. If he's our first choice, we've got massive issues at this football club. If he's coming in as a second choice to be coached and play under somebody, I'm all for it.
Sure.
But for that sort of money, I want a lot better. I'll be honest, I want a lot better. When I look at what Man City are buying for £45 million compared to what we're spending £45 million on, levels. Absolute levels to this game. Levels.
Well, I'm not panicking. Let's see what Frank comes up with. I'm quite calm about it. The club. It just seems that the madness of the last 2 years we're away from now. It just seems a much calmer club. It's a much more serious football club now. We've got someone in who can coach the team. When he balls well,
Flip Sean. Yeah. Sean, you are utterly shameless, mate. Utterly shameless when he balls out. All right, Sean, here you go. Let's have a bet. Sean. Me and you. I know you like a little flutter. Me and you. What bet will you give me on Tell's performance next year in terms of goals and assists in all competitions? Tell me. Let's have a bet. Bet time. Here we go. Sean, put your conditions, and then I'll let you know if I want to negotiate. And we are going in a minute, by the way. But you do it here. 650 people in the chat are all going to see. Let's have a look, and we'll do it for charity. And obviously, we won't know who's won until next summer. But let's see. Let's see if I agree to Sean's terms and conditions on a bet. Listen, I want to say this though, Lubo. I hope that every player that comes to Spurs is amazing.
Sure.
Right? It's not a, oh my God, I want him to be awful. No. I'm just concerned. It said 0.3 GA per 90, 50 quid. No, oh my God. Can you just give me 0.3 GA? So what? So if he plays 3
assists per game. Hold on. So for every 10 games, he gets 3 goals or assists.
So if he plays 60, he's got to get 20, right?
Correct.
Across all competitions, 0.3. So basically, he's got to do a third, basically, of what he plays.
Pretty much, just under, yeah. 3 in every.
No. We're not going to start doing this nonsense. No. I'll tell you what, Sean, we'll do a stream together tomorrow at some point. And we'll thrash out a bet. We've got time. On that note, I do need to go. I've got a big night tonight. I do need to go. Lubo, thanks for jumping on with me for the hour. Really appreciate it, mate. Really appreciate it. Curly, yeah, unfortunately, and we paid more. We paid more for Tell than they paid for Rayan Cherky. Blows my mind. Lubo, thank you very much. You're out tonight as well, aren't you? So enjoy the evening.
And I shall see you tomorrow night, 7:30. Spurs review.
Tomorrow, yeah. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow morning for the morning show. And then tomorrow evening, we have got the Spurs review. Should be a lively one. And who knows, maybe by then the Tell deal will be done, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be topic of conversation. Take care, everyone. By the way, Ryan put in a super chat, thank you very much, and said if we get Eze and Buemo and a man in and someone in central defensive midfield and a good centre back and a striker, I can just about accept that until January. Do you agree? I think it depends who the central defensive midfielder, who the centre back, and who the striker are.
And the other question for Sean is, if Tell flunks out, is that a bad money decision by Levy? We want Sean on the show to say yes or no.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ryan, listen, I think what's going to be best when we get to the end of the summer and we know what we've signed and what we're going in with, I think then we can really start to judge where we think Spurs should finish and what Frank and the players should do. Big up to you, Ryan. You're always very generous. Take care, everyone. Really, really, really appreciate everybody's time. Enjoy your Saturday nights. Go and do something other than football for a little bit, people. Until tomorrow morning. I'll see you then. Take care. And as always, come on.
You Spurs.
You Spurs.